Hey guys, Nairi here. I just wanted to talk to you about some new tips that I have for squats and deadlifts. So squats used to be a pretty awkward movement until pretty recently. There's a few cues that I've been using lately that have really helped to improve my squat technique. And as you can see here, I'm using a hip circle just above my knees. I really find that on my hypertrophy sets, that when I use it in my warm-ups, and then also if I use it in my actual working sets, that I tend to use my glutes and hamstrings a lot more. I keep my knees pointed out, and the overall movement is just a lot smoother. So before I started using the hip circle, I found that I didn't recruit my hamstrings or my glutes enough. My knees often caved in a little bit, and the overall movement just felt just like it was all in my quads. So the hip circles really transformed my squat and helped me to recruit those posterior muscles better. As you can see, hopefully, I actually have new squat shoes. They were absolutely incredible today. This is the first time I wore them, and they just felt amazing because they're flat. They lock your feet in, like you feel really like your feet are hugged into the shoe. It's honestly so good. And just a quick disclaimer, I don't have to use the hip circle all the time now. It's just sometimes I just feel like using it. I use it on all my warm-up sets though. Lately is that before I've even unracked the bar, I make sure that I'm completely locked on. I ensure that the bar is where it's supposed to be on my rear delts, and that my elbows are completely locked in. My whole upper body is completely stabilized. When you unrack it, you should be able to unrack it, take 3 steps, and you should be relatively in the correct position. Sometimes you might need to adjust your feet positioning just to make sure they're in line with each other. But generally, a 3-step walkout will maximize your energy and get the most out of the movement. Once I've unracked the bar, once I'm in position, I always squeeze my glutes at the start of the movement, and then at the end of the movement. So before the squat and after the squat. I feel that the more that you activate your glutes prior and after, the more likely you're going to be able to drive with your glutes and hamstrings instead of using mostly your quads. And lastly, the most important part about squats and form is the amount of weight you're using. It is crucial that you start your squats at a light weight, perfect your technique, and once it's perfect, then you can start increasing the weight, and not to then increase until your form is still really good. If you start adding more weight when your form isn't that great, you're more susceptible to injuries, and they could become permanent injuries if you're not careful. So it's very important to always focus on form over weight. Having said that though, if you're progressively overloading your lifts, specifically your squats, then over time you will be increasing the amount of weight, reps, sets, volume, frequency, and in turn you will then be you will be progressing in your lift. So if you're familiar with Fitness First, you would then know that the weight I have on the bar there is 70 kilos, which isn't really a big amount, maybe for some people, but for me it's very light. However, I was doing 12 reps and 4 sets, and besides the fact that it's a higher volume than what I have been doing previously. So this is my 4th and final set of 70 kilo squats, 12 reps. And by this point, my glutes and hammies were absolutely destroyed. Before we move on to the next exercise, I just wanted to mention that if your goal is to increase strength or to build muscle, either way, you should be progressively overloading. Either way, you should be increasing your lifts over time. By increasing your reps, sets, weights, frequency, and volume, over time, you will then build muscle, and you will also be increasing your strength. In my opinion, if done correctly, you can increase your strength and you can still build muscle both at the same time. Please let me know in the comments below if this video has been at all helpful to you, and let me know if there's any other videos that you'd like to see. Okay, moving on to the deadlift portion of the video. Now, deadlifts used to be my absolute best lift. They were my strongest lift, both in form and weight. I was just really good at them. Up until we went to Japan in September, we barely trained when we were there. I probably trained deadlifts 2 or 3 times. And then when I got back, I think I expected that I would just be really good at them still, be able to do the same weights that I did back, 4 or 5 months ago. But it just was not the case. So lately, I've really been focusing on my form and just trying to perfect it at the lighter weights so that then I can reintroduce the heavier weights. So one of the best cues that I could probably tell you is the narrowing of the feet. The narrower the feet, the more recruitment that you can get from your hamstrings. And for someone who uses a lot of their back when they're pulling the barbell off the ground, it is a very good cue, because now I can equally pull the bar off the ground with both my hamstrings, glutes, and my back. Another tip that I have is to lock your lats on before you reach for the bar. That's why beforehand you'll see that I do some weird little arm movements. That is just me getting my lats contracted. It may look stupid, but it really does help me to keep my back completely contracted the entire movement. So that concludes my mini tutorial on squats and deadlifts. That probably concludes my little mini squat and deadlift tutorial. If you have any more questions, or if you have any ideas for other videos, let me know. If you really like these tutorials, please let me know, because I have so many tips for how to get the best technique on so many exercises. So just let me know if there's a muscle group that you're struggling with, or a particular exercise that you struggle with that you want some extra tips on. Please let me know, and like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me what you think. Bye.